this event tonight, this afternoon, tonight. Most of these events are at night. I want to thank you for coming out. As I came in the door this afternoon, senior center staff told me we don't have a microphone that works, so I'm going to try to speak very loudly. And I have to inform the panel, if you're answering a question, please speak loudly. And anyone in the audience who can't hear, please put up your hand so that the panel, members of the panel will know that you can't be heard. Anyway, before we start, I just wanted to remind everybody of an article in the newspaper, the River East, last Friday about the special town meeting tomorrow at Town Hall at 7 o'clock. And it affects your tax base, and it's about something the candidates for first selectman and board of selectmen can tell you far more about than I can. But it's important that people be involved. Now, I also want to thank people running for these jobs, because there is no stipend to Board of Selectmen, no stipend to Board of Finance, no stipend to Board of Education. And these people, our system of government cannot function if people aren't willing to serve. And I can tell you from experience that to be on any of these boards is an enormous commitment of time. And the only real thanks you tend to get is a lot of abuse. Then they had done that. Okay, now we have a timekeeper standing over here, Marie Flanagan. And so I'm going to give you the rules.
Blow my whistle.
Now.
Make it loud.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask the people on the panel to introduce themselves, and they will have, and why they're running, and so on and so forth. And they have 3 minutes to do that. We're going to go down line. And one time we're going to start this end, and the next time we're going to start the other end. So we have to get everybody. Now, then we turn it over for questions from the floor. Now, you can ask a question of any member of the panel, but it's understood that if you ask a question to candidate A, any other candidate who wants to speak to the same subject can also respond. Okay? Now, if you ask a question for candidate A, that candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. And then any other member of the panel who wants to respond will have 2 minutes. Now, when you ask your question, please keep it simple, maybe like less than 30 seconds, so that, we want to spend more time getting the answers to the questions than views of people out here in the audience. Okay, yes.
I would like to make a motion that you bring it down to no more than a 2 minutes introduction to yourself, because we have 13 candidates.
Good thing. 2 minutes introduction.
Anybody for one?
Let's start with Brad. I have to be honest and up front here. Some of these people I had as students. So behave. Okay, Brad, take it away. 2 minutes.
And would you stand up so
Yeah,
that we
stand
can
up
see
so
you
everybody
and
can hear you.
I'll be happy to stand up.
better? Yes.
So good afternoon, and I'll be nice. I've served on the Board of Education since 2010. I've been chair of the board since 2017. I'm here today to ask you to consider voting for me so that I can remain a member of this wonderful team that's your Board of Education.
I'm Mike Egan's. I'm an incumbent on the Board of Finance. I've served on the Board of Finance for 2 years. Prior to that, actually, I served with Brad on the Board of Education, where I served for 9 years. And before that, I was the chairperson of the Jack to Building Committee. And I did do a stint on the Sewer and Water Commission for 2 years prior to being on the Board of Finance. And again, why I want to run, again, I think giving back to the community is important. I'm a professional engineer by trade, project manager, and I think that, my experience in town government, as well as some of my professional experience, can add some insight to key issues on the Board of Finance. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having us up here tonight.
Yeah, good. I think you made it.
All right, just barely.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Taras Redko. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Colchester.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I haven't died. In the process. I've served on the Republican Town Committee for roughly 20 years, been involved in attending town meetings, been involved in various elections. I've had the opportunity to be involved, see what's going on for quite some time, and I thought that this is as good a time as any to run. This is my first time running. I think that we could use a fresh set of eyes in Town Hall, bring some new ideas and some fresh perspectives. Why am I running? I had the opportunity to be in a Town Hall meeting at one point in time, and another gentleman stood up and said, you know, I was born here, I buried my parents here, I raised my kids here, and I can't afford to stay here. And the response that I heard was appalling to me. It was, if you can't afford to stay, you should consider moving. This is a community of people that have made, you guys have been here your entire lives. We are the ones responsible for building this community. And I'll just be damned if we chase people away that have spent their entire lives building this place so that others can enjoy it. That's why I'm running. Thank you for your consideration.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Morozowicz. I'm a Democratic candidate running for Board of Ed. And I'm new to politics, but I'm not new to education. I'm a professional grant writer, and I've been working for my whole career, over 20 years, working with nonprofit organizations and school systems throughout the state, trying to identify funding to run programming in schools. I had the pleasure of working with Brad on the Superintendent Steering Committee. I'm on the PTOs in both CES and JJIS. I have young children in the town, and we're fairly new to town, only about 5 years. But I'm super involved, and I want to stay that way, and I want to take it up a notch and join Board of Ed, because I think it's important to have parents that have kids in the schools and are in the classrooms, seeing the learning occurring with the teachers and the students on Board of Ed, so they can bring that perspective. And yeah, just to show my proof, I just stepped off a bus from JJIS with the 3rd graders from the state park, from the dinosaur park on a field trip. So that's what I'm hoping to bring and why I'm running. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, and thank you to the ARP for sponsoring this today. My name is Mary Tomasi. I'm currently on the Board of Education, running as a Democratic candidate for another term on the Board of Education.
You speak up a little.
Yes, I will. This is my 10th year on the Board of Education, and yes, I'm looking for another term on it. Before that, I was a teacher in town for 33 years. And after I retired, I bumbled about quite a bit, and then I was approached by the town committee, Democratic Town Committee, and asked, well, why don't you run? Well, I thought about it, and I said, well, I guess as a teacher, I have some experience in it. So I said, okay, and here I am. And I feel I have this umbilical cord still attached to the public schools in town. So that's why I'm running. I still feel a connection to the town, the schools in the town, and the education, the services that we provide to our youngsters. So thank you, and I hope for your support.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Bilo, and I'm running for First Selectman, and thank you also for having us here today, an opportunity to be able to connect to you in a personal way. I moved here in 2006 to take a job at Backus Hospital. I'm a retired chief nursing officer from Hartford Healthcare. I'm on the Board of Education, serve with Mary and Brad, and you know, I love Colchester. I think it's a really great place. That's why I chose it. It's why you live here as well. But getting onto the other side and being behind the table and seeing some of the ways things work, I realized I don't think we're really living up to our full potential. And so one of the main tenets of my platform has been to be able to move us forward, to help us achieve everything that we have within our potential. We have a phenomenal community and a lot of resources. And I also would say that I'm running with a tremendous team, and we're looking for your vote on November 5th for Row A. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Denise Turner. I currently sit on the Board of Education, Board of Selectmen. And I'm running for re-election. I don't know how many of my co-candidates can sit here and say they're staring at their mother watching them. But why am I running? That's a good question, and I have to say my parents were a big inspiration to my running. My parents always gave back to the community, and they taught us when we were growing up that we should do the same. I'm somehow following in their footsteps. I served for 6 years on the Board of Assessment Appeal. I did 4 years as the chair of the Board of Assessment Appeal before stepping onto the Board of Selectmen in April of this year. And I am looking forward to continuing work on the governing board for the town of Colchester. Having grown up here is something that's important to me. Thank you.
I'm Rosemary Coyle. I'm on the Board of Selectmen. I've been there since 2007. I took Jenny Constoyce's seat on the Board of Selectmen. Besides that, I was a teacher in Montville for 37 years. I served on the Colchester Board of Ed with Odessa for 8 years back in the 70s and 80s. Why am I running? Number one, I want to see that. Number one, I want to see the senior center finished. It has been an issue that I have worked on since I got on this board and learned about the senior issues. And I was proud to call the meeting to order last Wednesday of the Senior Center Building Committee. They've met, they've set their next date, and after that, they're going to be off and running. They'll set their whole schedule for the year. So it's going to happen, and I couldn't stop smiling. So that's one of my goals. The other one is education. I always believe in supporting public education because I think it shows the strength of our community. It's one of the reasons people move here. It's one of the reasons businesses move here is because of the quality of public education, and you have to keep supporting it. I bring experience to the board. I bring knowledge. I bring the patience and effort to make good decisions based on the information that is provided to us. I do not take that job anything but seriously. I can work in a bipartisan manner, and it would be my honor to continue. So I'm asking for your vote on November 5th. What did he say?
Hi, I'm Art Chalosky, your first selectman for the last 4 years. We've come a long ways in the last 4 years, and I think we have a ways to go. Again, along with Rosemary, when I came down in this position, she convinced me that we need a new senior center. I jumped on board with her, and we pledged to build a new senior center. That is going to happen, without a doubt. That's my goal for the next 2 years if I'm re-elected, and I would appreciate your vote. I served on the Board of Assessment Appeals for 2 terms. I served on the ZBA for 27 years. I served on the Board of Finance for 4 years, and then I was elected to the first selectman's position. I too very strongly take this job very, very seriously. And it's important that you know the board we have has worked for you over the last 4 years to give you what you deserve. And we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Bisla, running for Board of Selectmen. I have served for the last 6 years. I was born and raised in Colchester. I graduated from the great school of Bacon Academy with teachers, wonderful teachers like Mr. Bells, and graduated from University of Hartford. I'm an accountant, and I served first on the Zoning Board of Appeals for 8 years, Deputy Registrar of Voters for 4 years, Registrar of Voters for 4 years, and then began serving on this board in 2013. This board is starting to do some wonderful things, or has been, and that I would like to see finished, as well as the senior center, which just got going last week. We have the Norton Park Committee. Linda is honored to be on that committee. They also met last Thursday and have begun the process of designing the Norton Park, where they tore down the mill in Westchester. It's going to be a beautiful walking, picnicking area for the town to come by the river, and I'm looking forward to seeing that to completion. Working on the board has been a pleasure. We all do our homework. Anything that's coming up on the agenda, we study the issues, we ask questions, we're prepared for our meetings. When we come to those meetings, we bring those questions, we bring our research, we debate a little and come to conclusions that are in the best interest for this town. That is all we are there for what is best for all of us. So I'm looking for re-election for 2 more years to see some of these things through. And I thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Mike Hayes, and I'd like to thank all the AARP members that also went up for inviting me here to speak today. I currently sit on the Sewer and Water Commission. I've been there for approximately 3 years. For any of you who don't know, the Sewer and Water Commission is a separate entity from the town. They have their own budget, which we maintain, we run, we balance, and we do not have to report to anybody. It's very similar to the Board of Finance in terms of what they do. So it puts me in a position that's well earned to step forward into a finance board. I have attended the Board of Finance meetings, most of the Board of Finance meetings over the past 3 years. I have taken notes. I have taken a lot of notes, learned a lot of stuff. I'm an advocate for education, a strong advocate for education. That's one of the reasons I want to run for this position on the Board of Finance. I think that we need to put some more thought into how we're going about funding our school system. And just let me back up for a second. Prior to sitting and prior to going to all the Board of Finance meetings, I used to go to all the Board of Education meetings, as I can tell you down here. And I backed their budgets, and I spoke up when the time was to speak up. If I thought that they were not being treated fairly, I opened my mouth. I did it in a civil manner. There was no yelling, there was no screaming. I presented my case, and the boards listened. When I got to the finance board and they started to, I guess chop is the only word you can use, from the school budget, again, I would stand up, I would present my position on it, why I felt it shouldn't be chopped, and again, in a civil manner. And I got the respect of a lot of town people by doing that. And I was actually accused one time by one of the board members of playing to the audience, that they thought it was unfair that I got applauded, and they didn't. So, I'm also a strong advocate for the senior center. As we all know, at this point, the senior center is going to move forward. So that's a great thing for all of us. And I support our first responders. We have a growing senior population in this town.
She blew the whistle.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, everybody.
You love it too hard and
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here. My name is Evan Evans. I'm a Republican running for the Board of Finance. Before I start, ma'am, you okay? I saw you coughing a little bit. You all right? Okay. So I am 50 years old, but I also have small children. My oldest is 17. He's about to turn 18 on Sunday. He's a freshman at Manchester Community College. My youngest is 3 years old. Why does that matter? Because at 50 years old with a 3-year-old, I can see both ends of the spectrum. I understand the needs of the Board of Education. I understand the needs of having a senior center. The population in Colchester is getting older. In a few years, those of us, and I will be one of them, who are 55 and older, will be a majority of our population. We need to take care of all of our citizens. I'm a retired military officer. I have pledged as a member of the Board of Finance that I'm not going to play gotcha politics with either candidate or whomever is the chairman of the Board of Education. I'm going to let them know what questions I'm going to ask. It's not about trying to make people look bad. It's about asking questions to get to an end goal to move on to the next thing to make our community better. I chose to live here in 2004. I'm not a lifelong resident. My father was in the military, I was in the military. We moved around a lot. But I chose Colchester. I chose Colchester for a reason. And I'm running to make Colchester a better place. As good as Colchester is, just like we used to say in the military, we can make it better. And that's my intent on sitting on the Board of Finance, is to make it better by asking the members of the Board of Education, the Board of Selectmen, hard questions to move us forward. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Therese Peters, and I'm seeking a 4-year term on the Board of Finance with the Colchester Independent Party. We also have cross-endorsed some of the Republican candidates, including Art Schlosky for first selectman, although he won't appear on our ballot line, but we still endorse him. I have appeared before you for 6 times over the past, I think it's like 13 years or so I've been coming. And so I think most of you probably know my background, so I won't get into that. Plus it was just in the River East, so I do have the experience. I have been on elected boards. I've served as appointed boards, charter, revision commission, chairman, vice chair. And so I just want to get to the point of why I'm running. And I've been an active advocate for fiscal responsibility. I'm always out there making sure that you know what the tax rate is going to be, the mill rate is going to be, and what has changed up or down and things like that. I believe in a fair, conservative budget that addresses the needs and wants of the citizens, the taxpayers of this town, but also being mindful that we want to continue to move Colchester forward, progressive, towards completion of the senior center, pretty much. I'm 55, and I would love it to be done so I can get a good many years use out of it. I also am a pro-educated person. I believe in education. My son turns 21 years today, and 21 years old today, and he is away at college, his 4th year as a mechanical engineering student, so highly believe in education. That's really important. But we want to make sure that the town does stay affordable to all, because if it's not affordable, I'm sorry, it's just a downward spiral of things. And so I do appreciate, and I hope you'll consider us on November 5th. Thank you. It's good to see some faces.
Hi, I'm Sue Hickey. I'm running for Board of Ed as a Democrat. I too have been a lifelong resident of Colchester, and like Denise, have a deep commitment to this community. I remember shopping at Odessa's dress shop as a little girl, and I've had Irene and John as teachers also. So I do have a deep commitment to education, to this community. I have a background in education. I've been very involved with Colchester as a parent volunteer. I've raised my 3 girls here. I've been a tutor for the Colchester Public Schools. I believe I'm a lifelong learner, so I went back, got my Master Gardener certification. I work with Diane in the Garden Club, very involved in the community, and I also provide childcare for Colchester, Collaborative for Colchester's Children, which is, we refer to as C3. I do childcare for them. Took their UConn 10-week pep class, which is people empowering people, and that's what inspired me, I think, to run and give back to my community. So I love the connection. That's the theme that seems to be running through as I've become more involved. The connection to this community is amazing, with people that care, that are committed, and I intend to be one of those people to commit. And I love the idea of building connections, not only between our students, but our seniors, with all the wisdom and the experience that you guys have to share. And I think we all have that future to look forward to, and I support our education and fiscally responsible budget also. But I appreciate your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Folks, word that thing you had me as a teacher, it tends to make me feel, since I retired in 1997, that means some of you people are old enough to join the AARP. Now, I get to ask the first question as a member of the audience here. I'm going to direct a question to the two candidates for first selectman. And we've been talking about education, we've been talking about the senior center. To fund all of our programs, we've got to stabilize our tax base. We've got to generate revenue. And so I would like, and if I remember correctly, it's 2 minutes, the two candidates for first selectman to talk about stabilizing the tax base and what you two guys plan to do that. And I don't know who wants to go first, but I'm not partisan, so one of you pick it to yourself. But anybody else on the panel here wants to comment on it would have a right to do that. They're all looking at each other.
It's like, I go back, he goes forward.
Rock, paper, ladies first. Last time you said age of beauty.
I did say age before beauty. So that's a great question. Oh, sure. So that's a great question, and one that I'm sure Art, as well as myself, we get asked quite a bit. So what I've basically, put together for this is it's all about economic development, and we need to be looking for ways to share the cost of running the town. Running the town is not going to get cheaper as we move forward, especially as we look to always be growing, right? But what we need to do is take the burden off of just us. And we have a lot of empty buildings, a lot of opportunities. We have area yet to be developed where we could be bringing partnerships with businesses in to help spread that tax base. And I'm not talking about growing in a way that loses the culture of Colchester, because that's a conversation that I've had with a lot of people as well. And maybe of the 3,000 people that we've door knocked, maybe 5 people have wanted a Walmart. The rest of the people really love Colchester for the culture that it is. But they would like to see these empty buildings filled. Some of the buildings that are being built right now as we speak that don't have tenants. So working to bring in some additional revenue into the town. At the same time, what that does is that makes Colchester a destination for other people to come here. Recent example I like to use is the Soccer Fest that just took place this past weekend. Those people ate in our restaurants, they shopped in our supermarkets, they filled their gas tanks in our gas stations. And so the more that we can do to attract people and make Colchester a destination for others, the more money that gets spent here, and that benefits all of us.
Economic development is a key factor. There's 2 factors with that. We have to have economic, commercial, industrial input, and we need to have population input. There's a lot of reasons why some stores or some restaurants don't come to Colchester. It's because our population is not large enough that they believe in a marketing analysis will support the store or the business. As far as economic development is, we've had a lot in the last 2 years. We have Westchester is building that new service station store. The one that Mary talked about at Stop and Shop, that's already happened. We had Incor is building 2 new industrial buildings. Alpha Q just built 2 new additions. And if you read the River East this weekend, natural gas is coming to Colchester, and we're going to have a fuel cell up at the dump. That fuel cell is going to generate, assuming we pass everything tomorrow night, and I'm confident that we will generate $9.1 million in revenue. That's going to be given to the town, and in a 20-year installment of $455,000 a year. That does not include the gas lines that are coming up 354, and that's going to go to the fuel cell. That's a separate thing. That's not including the site improvements on the fuel cell. That's another $30,000. We do have economic development. Do we need more? Absolutely. I will never argue that. We do have empty stores. We have to have companies that want to come here, and the way they come, because I've talked to all of them, they do a marketing and analysis. Like I said before, if it doesn't support the store that they have based on population, it's a big thing that they go through. Every one of them has come back that Colchester is not large enough in population to bring in I'm watching you, to bring in